We asked the question, pretty simple. Who's the Guardians' X factor this season? The biggest swing guy if they play well. The Guards have a chance to be really good. If they don't play as well, then the Guardians could be in trouble. You each gave us a different answer. Tyvis tried to change his answer.
And Bull took
Bull had
it.
already taken it.
Now, there's never going to be just one guy that's going to swing
So he's stuck with his.
But go ahead. Tyvis, who's your guy?
I can't say who I want to say because somebody decided to take it. But I'll go with the answer that I said. I said Brayan Rocchio. The reason I went with Brayan Rocchio is for the simple fact that, which one of him was your guy?
It was Bull's guy.
Okay. Reason that I wanted to go with him, now I'm talking about last year, you had a bold prediction.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
But the reason I'm going with him is because when he played well, he was the X factor to me in the playoffs. You know, he made some of those big-time hits. And at this time, when you look at the Guardians lineup, you know, losing Josh Naylor, that's big. Like, we need sticks. We need to lengthen the lineup. We got to get hitting throughout the lineup. And I think where he's going to be at in that lineup, they're going to need something down there. So I think he's going to be the guy that is what Bull thought he would be. He would be this year.
All right. Jason, who's your guy?
I like that.
Thank you. I'm an expert, you know.
He was my second choice, was Rocchio.
Oh, well.
I thought about Rocchio. I do think it's a really good choice because he's got to hit better than he did last year, and he showed in the postseason that he can. My guy isn't a guy who, if he doesn't play well, they're going to tank or they're going to fall flat. But I do think if he performs well, it's going to unlock another level that no one is counting on, and that's Triston McKenzie. Because of all the potential that he's got. We know how good he can be. We know about the tear in his elbow that he tried to pitch through last year. He's foregone surgery to this point. And the velocity is back. The command is still iffy. It's not a surprise. And some of the research that Zach and I did last year when we first wrote about this, that's one of the telltale signs of what he's trying to pitch through. But if he can command his fastball, if he had a tremendous curve last year, and now that the velocity's back, if he can have confidence in what he's doing and that he can pitch through this, if he can get back to the pitcher that he was a couple of years ago, that is a game changer for this rotation. When you talk about Tanner Bybee, I think Gavin Williams is going to have a monster year personally.
I agree.
And when you talk about some of the additions that they've made in the offseason, if you can now slot McKenzie into that, say, 2 or 3 slot, it lengthens this rotation. It gives them another option, insurance against injuries. And it's somebody nobody's really talking about right now, and rightfully so, because you just don't know. But if he can command his stuff, and if he can continue to throw like this, he could really take this rotation to another level.
Is Shane Bieber pitching this season?
Yes.
Later in the year.
Well,
I don't know that it's a guarantee he's pitching this year, but probably.
Because I had seen him pitching in the spring. I seen him throwing.
Yeah, he's by July or August.
Okay.
I think late July,
so
early August.
if they make the playoffs, he'll be in the rotation.
Yeah, should be. Both good choices. Rocchio and McKenzie were both on my short list of consideration. And McKenzie's had a weird spring training because, as you said, his velocity's up, but he's still not commanding, and he's getting hit hard.
Yeah.
But it is a major positive that his velocity's up. I think that's a big positive. And Rocchio, I expected. I think Rocchio. Part of the reason I didn't pick Rocchio is because I feel like I have a level of expectation now for him that I'm confident he'll get to. The guy I picked was Bo Naylor because
that's what I wanted.
The Guardians don't have a particularly good lineup. They had a mid-tier lineup last year, and it's worse on paper. Bo Naylor was a huge disappointment last year. I mean, his OPS, that's horrible. 614 is horrible.
Yep.
Now, the one hope, Bo Naylor's got a ton of ability there. And if you have a lineup that has spots in right field where you usually get production from players and the Guardians are not going to get it, well, then you hope to get production from a position that other teams don't, and that's catcher. There's not a lot of good hitting catchers. And even in a terrible season, he still hit 13 homers, which there's not that many catchers that hit more than that. But Bo Naylor needs to become a more well-rounded player. I think the hope is that he can someday hit 260 with 25 home runs. And I wouldn't be surprised if he made a big jump this year. On the other hand, I also wouldn't be surprised if he sucks and they're moving on and looking for another catcher in 2026. So I think there's a lot of boom or bust potential with Bo Naylor, more than most players on this team. And so that's why I went with Bo Naylor.
It's a big year for him. This is a really big year for him.
He's got to take a big step this year.
Well, 2 years ago, he was really good on the offensive side. last year he was really good defensively.
I wouldn't say he was really
He
good.
was really good like the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, he
The
was,
end of the season, he was really good, and then last year he fell on his face.
Yeah.
Which is not uncommon with young
Not
guys.
uncommon at all, especially with catchers, because there's a lot to adjust to in the majors.
Is Hedges
more
still
than
on our
anybody else.
roster?
What's that?
He still got
still on
Hedges?
the roster.
Okay.
ESPN just did a giant feature on Austin Hedges. Did you see that?
ESPN
Yes.
did?
No,
Yeah,
we
giant.
did. It wasn't us, or was it ESPN?
I thought it was ESPN.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you're right. I
They
think you're right.
stealing plagiarism.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it was Tim Kirkshin wrote a giant feature on Kirkshin, why everyone loves Guardians catcher Austin Hedges, like a 2,000 word column on.
I would love for him
Hedges.
to come on this show.
That'd be awesome.
I think he'd be
Great
really,
personality.
They say he'd be really good, like to fit in, like as a person.
I'm sure he
that just
would.
sat
He'd be
there.
awesome. I have no problem with him as a backup catcher. I just don't want him to be the starter.
He's
Can't hit.
a pitcher.
Hey, Bull,
What?
I put in the chat,
Yeah.
of these three choices, who do you think is the biggest X factor of the three? We have over 300 votes. And I bring this up because this may be the closest poll we've ever had, where all three are within percentage points of each other. So it's still going on, but with over 300 votes, who's the biggest X factor? Naylor, Rocchio, McKenzie. It's changing by the minute as stuff comes in. But right now, McKenzie is your winner at 36%, Naylor at 32%, Rocchio tied at 32%.
wow.
Yeah, that's,
Three-way-
I mean, they're all.
basically-
They
That is
all
the
basically
closest.
three-way
That is the closest it's ever been.
listen, if all three of those guys are good this year, the Guardians are in great shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all three of those guys suck this year,
And they
good.
actually have more insurance against my guy than anybody. Like if McKenzie's
Yes.
awful,
yes.
okay, they
It's
have
not the
enough.
end
But
of
it
world.
would
If
be an
Rocchio
X
and
factor,
Naylor
though.
There's a
are
lot
awful
more
again,
upside to McKenzie being good than there is the downside if he's not.
Yes.
But if all three, if Naylor and Rocchio reach their potential and McKenzie can stay healthy
Oh,
and get his command,
forget
like
about
that
it.
could that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge because now you got this good bullpen and there'll be some regression. There's got to be some regression in the Guardians bullpen. I think you got to go into the season expecting that a little bit. They got a lot of talented arms in that pen, top to bottom. I mean, across the board in that bullpen is a lot of talented arms. But some of their great pitchers from last year probably won't be as good, and maybe other guys will be better. I know Sobrowski is going to be on IR or on the IL to start the season.
I want to see that outfielder. What's that? Tyler Naquin. I want to see.
Oh, is the pitch? Well, he's not going to be in the majors.
No, he ain't getting in the majors, not at all. But I just want to see what his numbers in the minors
Yeah,
look like.
I mean, he could
when
be
it's
in the
done.
majors at some point. If
It
he's-
could
if he does a
be.
good enough
Hey,
job. Never
hey.
know.
I did a story the year of the pandemic. Actually, I
Yeah.
did a story on Anthony Gose trying to
Right, yeah.
and how hard it is for position players to become pitchers. In part because you just can't throw that. Like there's only so many bullets at one time. You can only
Yeah.
throw so many pitches, and then you have to stop and rest. It's not
Right.
like you can swing as many times as you want.
Yeah.
But with pitching, you only have so many pitches in you, and then you got to stop and rest for 3, 4, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's a long progression to figuring this out, to doing this that you probably wouldn't even
But-
consider.
By the way, the first Major League Baseball regular season game is Tuesday at 6:05 in the morning. Cubs-Dodgers in Japan.
Didn't they do that last year?
It was.
It was
Dodgers
the
last
Padres
Padres,
versus
Dodgers. Yeah.
I will be up at 6 a.m. to watch those games.
I will
Will
put
you
me-
guys be getting up at 6 a.m. to watch?
No, but I will have a bet placed.
I'll be getting up at 6 a.m. to get my kids on the bus. And maybe
The
we'll
Guardians'
turn
first
the TV
game, March 27th at Kansas City. Their home opener, April 8th against the White Sox. Guys, it is
All
rapidly
4 o'clock
approaching.
games, I think, right?
You know what?
Yes.
If I've started my new gig,
Yeah.
I will be up.
There you go.
Yeah, I have it right
Yeah,
on.